Well, here we are again, my friends. Once again to talk about life with the dark. Well, the hoodie on. Actually, I wasn't going to wear the hoodie. It was a joke, but I bought this the other day. But it was going to reveal my happy birthday streamer headband, which reveals my crazy hair because I can be crazy all month because it's my birthday month. Somebody left that comment the other day. They're like, hey, it's your birthday all month long, so you can act a fool and say it's my birthday month. I was like, dude, I'll take that shit. Straight up. So tonight I thought I'd make a quick video. I actually intended to make a live cast tonight at 7:19 p.m. But before then, I'd like to make a little brief video to talk about a few things. The chaos and bullshit that are going on in life are just one part of, what I have to talk about. I try not to lean on a negative aspect. I figured it was important to me to give thanks for existence. I thought about this before I started the video. I thought, I should say we all have something to be thankful for. There's guaranteed to be somebody out there who will say they don't. And I would say, well, if you have the ability to type words into your computer or phone to respond to this video or even have the time to listen to it and the ability to, then you have something to be thankful for. It means that you're not completely incapacitated. It means that you have at least some semblance of functionality, coherence to be able to understand a language. I mean, there are people out there who are completely lost in this world and have absolutely nothing. People who are, let's just say, I'm not going to do any comparisons here. I wanted to talk about being thankful for a minute and what it means to me on the holidays to be grateful. The funny thing is, my birthday was the other day. I mentioned that November 25th is my birthday, which means that it falls somewhere around Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving being the last Thursday of the month, right? Or is it the third Thursday? Yeah, I think it's the third. Whatever the fuck it is, it doesn't matter. The point is, sometimes mine's a couple days before, a couple days after, or right on Thanksgiving. This year it was the day before. But I always give thanks around this time for just life in general. It's a day for me to be with my family and appreciate existence. And I'll be honest, this year was one of the nicest years we've had. I won't lie. I love seeing family and friends, and I know that every year it requires travel and stress over making sure that the dinner's just perfect and everything's done right. There's always some argument or fight among family members. And, it just seems like it's not worth the energy sometimes. But this year with COVID, I wanted to find some positive, some silver lining. And I thought, well, even though we can't see people that we love, at least we can be with those we do love here. And I realized how many people out there had to spend Thanksgiving alone. And it breaks my heart to think about it. All the people out there who just kind of have this a bah humbug version of the holidays. And that's what I really wanted to address here. I'm not a big holiday person. I kind of scoff at, say, Christmas for what it is when people say, well, it's about Christ. It's about Christ. And I say, well, no, it's about Christ if you're a Christian. But for the rest of people, for the people, say, before Christianity, the pagans celebrated Christmas as well. There was the 3 days before the sun rose again. All the metaphors are in there, and I don't want to go into the ancient history of it, because that was one of the main points I wanted to make here, was that history is written by the victors. It's one of those old terms. Basically, the history that we've been fed is complete bullshit. So the history about Christmas is one thing. The history about Thanksgiving is no different. The idea that that the Pilgrims benefited the Native Americans in any way is preposterous. It was a truce in many ways. And in fact, the dinner, as far as I know, historically related to the Native American tribes banding together with some of the Pilgrims at the time to try to fight some other group. In other words, they needed more people. It was a truce, not a shaking hands and hugging around a bunch of turkeys. I mean, the absurd history that we've been fed is what leads people to do things like what happened in Portland yesterday morning, which absolutely disgusts me. I didn't even want to really bring it up. We all know that there's been a lot of chaos in Portland, and a lot of you know that I do support people's rights to speak out and speak against racism, to speak against tyranny. We're going through some serious changes in this country right now. And whether you want to admit it or not, and whether people are ready for it or not, it doesn't matter. It's happening. Life is about a progression and change. We can't stop that. You can't slow it down. It's what happens. This has happened all through history. This is just like there was a time when women could not vote, right? And there was a lot of upheaval and women rebelling, and there were plenty of people saying women should just mind their own business and stay in the home and not do anything and not have a right to vote, but they won it. Just like civil rights, helped colored people have the right to vote. Well, today we have many different protests going on amidst this, something that happened the other day that I should not be surprised, but yesterday morning at about, who knows, sometime in the pre-dawn hours of Thanksgiving, a group of people went along Hawthorne Boulevard in southeast Portland and broke out all the windows basically on the south side of the street all the way down and spray painted all the buildings. Big things like, don't celebrate Thanksgiving and genocide, you're celebrating genocide. Now, I bring this up because I wanted to make a point here that especially when a local who was interviewed, who was there on the streets, and she says, I don't appreciate this and I don't approve of it. This is my neighborhood. However, I'm not afraid of these people. It's not like people think Portland think of some scary place at night with all these roaming gangs. There are a lot of angry people, but there's also people who just want to cause violence and mayhem and destruction, and they think that's going to solve problems. These people disgust me. In other words, if anyone out there who is watching this is one of the people who was involved in just breaking windows and spray painting on buildings, I completely don't support that, and I don't see how you think you're going to get any resolution by destroying local businesses. It's pretty pathetic. However, I only bring that up to address the underlying frustration of a lot of people, of why Native Americans and many tribes think that Thanksgiving is a disgusting holiday, where Americans stuff their faces like gluttons, and, no hate. No hate. We're just people. And I'm on the side of saying this is the point I wanted to make. The holiday is what you make of it. Just like Christmas. I'm not a Christian, but I celebrate Christmas. Why? Because it's a time when everyone already has the days off. It's considered a holiday that we celebrate. It is what you make of it. And that's the same as Thanksgiving. I can celebrate Thanksgiving with family and friends, eat good food, while at the same time appreciating the sacrifices that people have made, whether Native Americans or settlers or, the whole history of mankind, without feeling like I'm somehow corrupt for celebrating one day a year that we all eat food together. As a white man, because my ancestors did something. The truth is, my ancestors came later. The slaughtering of the Native Americans came before my ancestors even appeared on this continent. I have ancestors from Scotland, the Orr clan, and the Watts family from Germany, and we came here in the 1800s, and it's fascinating to look back at history and see that many of the people who came here, who, let's say, were white, later, after, this country was 100 years established, these people were treated like slaves in many regards, and I'm not comparing slavery to what happened to the Irish, let's say. But the way that the Irish were treated and Scottish were treated early on in this country, or the Polish were treated, or the way Jews have always been treated, there's a lot of misunderstanding and confusion about different cultures. It's not always whether you're black or white or brown or Native American. In other words, it's not about what race you are. That is used as an excuse to get people out of people's way for progress. This is what happened when people came from Europe, they settled here. It's a fascinating history of the colonies and how they tried to move west, but they were stopped at the mountain ranges by Native Americans who said, no, you set aside this land for us. So what did we do? We just fought them for it. Then we went on and moved to Texas, and Mexico agreed to let settlers stay there as long as we cooperated and abided by Mexican law. Once enough settlers were there, they basically just stuck up their collective middle fingers and said, fuck you, Mexico, we're not going to do anything you say. And therefore, the Mexican, right, go for the Alamo, right, take it all. And that's what America has done. America has been a dominating force that has, at the very beginning, the very foundation of America been a place where people could come together, have freedom from tyranny and corruption within Europe, and try to start a new life. But at the same time, having their own inner chaos within the groups and the settlers in Jonestown and all these different these settlements, which, the way that they make it sound is, all these pilgrims just working together, and we just eat food together, and they go harvest and work with the Native Americans. It's bullshit. These people struggled and starved. Sometimes 80% of a village would die over the winter. There were some really, really dark stories from the early parts of this, what we call the United States of America now. In the meantime, we slaughtered millions of Native Americans. In fact, historically, if you look back at the numbers, they are way underreported. There were so many more. And even after the Native Americans were gone, and we had, say, if you've never heard of Black Wall Street, it's one of the darkest chapters in American history for racism. There was an actual area, I believe it was in Georgia, where there was they called it Black Wall Street. It was where all the successful black families had set up shop, and they had a nice neighborhood. One day, there was a black guy in an elevator or in a stairway or something with a woman, and she claimed he had touched her or done something, which in the end she was lying. It started this whole chaos. The whole white community went in and burned down Black Wall Street. It wasn't about that one case. It was about somebody who was different, having something more than they did. They were very successful black communities who had been pushed down. This has happened with so many cultures in this country. So the idea that it's a melting pot and it's equality and that it's fair for all is complete bullshit. Now we know this. Now let's step back for a minute, because that sounds pretty negative. Why is it that way? Authority always uses people's collective fears against them. That's what propaganda is. Say, when they wanted to ban marijuana, many people say it was because of the hemp industry competing with paper. No, at that time it wasn't even that big of an issue. Sure, at this point it might be, but back then it was more of saying, hey, black jazz musicians smoked pot and they were attacking white women. That was the claim that was made. So Reefer Madness came out. It made people look like lunatics. By making marijuana illegal, it allowed them to arrest minorities and to keep groups under control. This is a fact. The same thing happened, and this was way back when. But this continued on until the Nixon administration, which he basically declared the drug war. But it wasn't about drugs. It was never about stopping drugs or because of the issue of drug deaths or drug overdoses. It was an issue of saying, how do we stop these anti-war protesters and these civil rights marches? Well, we just have to ban what they consume. And since a lot of them smoked marijuana, took LSD and other psychedelics, boom, thrown on a list, banned. Now you can throw people in jail for just getting high. It has been a war on not just the mind, but a war on history and a war on truth for a long time. Which brings me full circle back to Thanksgiving. Why should we celebrate Thanksgiving? That's very subjective, and I don't think anybody should feel guilty celebrating any holiday. When I celebrate Christmas, for example, I never think about Christ. To me, it's just a holiday. And if Christians find it to be about Christ, I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, it's about the solstice. It's one of the very few things that came out of the early 2000s, mid 2000s, was that story that I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a supposed documentary which brought up a lot of this. It was Zeitgeist, that's right. A lot of nonsense in it, but a lot of truth in it. And when it came to the history of Christmas, the history of how religion has twisted and taken other cultures' ideas, is phenomenal and it's fascinating because a lot of it's true. And when you look at the three kings, when you look at the three stars, when you look at the 3 days of darkness where the sun sits at for 3 days on the horizon before it rises again, sure, you could take it as subjective opinion or whatever you believe on it. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm saying that it's okay to celebrate something for your own reasons. I'm not a pagan. Definitely not a pagan. I ain't a pagan. I ain't a vegan. I'm not religious. I'm really just kind of a person who talks to the trees and speaks to nature and believes that there is an inherent wisdom in nature and an overarching awareness and blueprint of I guess, the universe, if you will. I don't know whether there's multiverses, nor do I care. I really don't give a shit if we're sitting in a simulation. I don't care if the Mandela effect is real. I don't care if the butterfly effect is an issue. I don't care about prophecy. I don't care about mind reading or the deep history that we can't know. I care about all these things, but they're things that I cannot know. Which brings us to the main point. All we can really know is right now. So whatever the holidays may be, you can make them whatever you want. My family a few years back talked about this and said, let's just, make it what we want it to be. I understand that Santa Claus was based on a mushroom. I understand that the reindeer, if you don't know this, that the reindeer would be fed these mushrooms. The big white and red ones with the white spots. They're Amanita or Amanita muscaria, which contains muscamine, I believe, in muscarol, or muscimol A, something like that. But anyhow, they're psychoactive, but they're actually like deliriants. So nice, not a psychedelic, but they make you delirious. Well, over in Europe, in certain areas, where there was lots of snow, lots of fir trees, and lots of reindeer, the locals would take these amanitas every year and celebrate and dance around the fire. The problem is, if you eat the mushrooms themselves, your body can't process it. It goes right through you. But those chemicals within the mushroom are converted as it passes into your urine. So yes, as disgusting as it sounds, they would urinate and then drink their urine in order to get the effect from it. However, they found if they fed it to reindeer, they could get a lot more. And my guess is that, the history is a little skewed on this one, but you can feed the reindeer mushrooms, drink their urine, and get a buzz. Now you think about the flying reindeer, you think about Santa, the fact that he's white and red, and then he has just like the white and red spots. He wears the cap. St. Nicholas was just one aspect of it, but, did you know that it was Coca-Cola that actually made Santa a thing? Seriously, before Coca-Cola, Santa was not an issue. It was not even really a part of Christmas. They wanted a big fat guy, red and white, just like Coca-Cola. It fit their image perfectly. So there you got Santa, all coked up on fucking cocaine, Coca-Cola. Just, the stories are fascinating. They really are. Maybe the story of Thanksgiving isn't that interesting. Maybe it's more just depressing. But the original story of Christmas is pretty damn amazing. I'm not a holiday person. I don't really care for most, holidays as being super religious are important to me personally, but I appreciate those who do, because it's almost like a small vacation from reality back to our roots of what we think helps us in life, which is often religion for people. It's important for people to bond with that. Now, think about Easter for a moment. Easter to me is nothing more than the spring equinox, which of course is between the winter solstice and the summer solstice. That's what Easter is. That's what it originally was. It was celebrating the spring. Somehow bunnies got thrown in there and Jesus, I don't know. But if that's how you celebrate it, there's nothing wrong with that. But really, Easter was always a celebration of a natural celestial event, just like Christmas was. And I guess my point here isn't to dismiss anybody's beliefs on anything, but rather to say, make it what you want it to be. Embrace it for what it is and enjoy it. If you're hanging out with family, why do you want to go hide in a corner and grovel about how, we shouldn't be celebrating this holiday? How about you use a day when everybody already has off from work, a day where most places are already closed, and a day where spirits are generally high, and say, I'm going to make it the day I want it to be. And that's all we can do. So, thanks for coming along. Thanks for listening. Uploading this video a little late in the day because I'm planning to do a live one. And I think it's right now, it's 5:30. So, in about an hour and a half, but by the time this uploads, it'll probably be an hour, so I'll be doing a live one then. And thanks for coming along. I had a lot of things to talk about, but I really didn't have any notes, so it was just generally about holidays, Thanksgiving, how our history is skewed, how we've been lied to for a long time, but you don't have to sit and grovel and complain about that. If you want to be bah humbug because of the history of a holiday, you're missing the whole point of creating your own reality. Because as I said, we can't ever write down the complete history. We can never see the complete future. We can only know the right fucking now. And here we are. Wherever you go, there you are. Can't change that one. It's fact. Take care, my friends. Be well. Thanks to my patrons. I always have to say that. Can't forget. Thanks to my all my subscribers, family and friends, loved ones who have made life worth living. Because really I've never seen a time in my life where it wasn't worth living. No matter how bad things have been. Even when I've been in excruciating pain, I say I'm alive. Something to be said about that. That's appreciation, gratitude, and that's really what the holidays are about. Peace out.